I didn't think it was possible to botch or distort coverage of a shooting any more than the Rayshard Brooks case in Atlanta. After I saw footage of the case on Sunday, I thought, how could anybody possibly spin this into anything other than a justified shooting? And of course, it turns out it's very simple. Just pretend there was a racial motive in this case, even though there's no evidence to say that there was, and even though there's 20 plus minutes of video of the cops being very courteous and polite with Brooks before he attacks them.
It comes as protesters at Georgia's state capitol demanded the officers face charges.
That could have been me.
Yeah, well, it won't be you, as long as you don't resist arrest and punch the cop in the face and steal his taser and then shoot the taser at him. I'm guessing not even white privilege can get you out of that one, but hey, I've never tried it myself. I'm just speculating. Better yet, though, let's just gloss over all those details entirely. Stacey Abrams says sleeping in a drive-thru must not end in death, as though sleeping in the drive-thru is normal behavior anyway. Maybe if you live at Wendy's like Stacey Abrams, it's normal, but it's not normal for the rest of us. But more importantly, though, as though sleeping in the drive-thru is all that happened here. Watch the video. The cops are actually very nice about the sleeping part. It's the attacking them part where things get rougher. Tuesday morning's Today Show coverage investigated the history of the cops involved.
Newly released police records show Officer Garrett Wolf, who was fired Saturday, received a written reprimand for firing his weapon in 2016. The second officer involved, Devin Brosnan, is now on administrative duty. Records show his only complaint was connected to Friday's shooting.
But when it comes to Rayshard Brooks, well, there's no history to investigate whatsoever. Just images of a loving father. Yeah, sure, he may have had a few mishaps, including battering his family, cruelty to children, false imprisonment, among other episodes of violence. But other than that, great dad. Not that I think the history of either party justifies the shooting or not. It's the facts specific to this incident that do that. But we should notice the obvious effort to make one person a hero in this story and to make others villains, and the application of different standards in pursuit of those portrayals. I didn't think the effort to pick heroes and villains instead of just report the facts could get any more twisted. But that was only Sunday, and then along came Monday, and CNN and the rest reminded us that with a new day, there's new opportunity, and there's always new torque to apply. The latest CNN headline is a little better than the prior, but not much better. Unrest leads to a shooting in Albuquerque, this referring to shots fired at a statue of a Spanish conquistador, getting the same mob treatment as any other statue these days. CNN reports there was some sort of fight that led to the shooting, and vigilante groups may be to blame. Implicitly by the photograph, the New Mexico Civil Guard, an armed civilian group, or a militia, however you want to refer to them. Now, in fairness to CNN, they're following the statement from the police chief suggesting that to be the case, but in fairness to the reader, it's CNN's job to vet those claims for accuracy before parroting them as true. It's also CNN's job not to assign blame, at least prematurely. It's the facts' job to do that. But hey, why wait? We have predetermined heroes and villains, and the facts are secondary anyway. And that's why CNN's video piece is titled "Alleged Vigilantes Blamed for Shooting at Protest." Pay attention to the claims of fact here, because almost every single one is false or misleading.
One person has been shot in New Mexico. This after a right-wing militia confronted protesters who were trying to take down the statue of a conquistador. A local reporter posted this video of the moments the shot rang out. It is alarming to watch. That is gunfire, shots followed not by police, but by a self-appointed militia. Albuquerque police detained several heavily armed members of that militia, known as the New Mexico Civil Guard. Keep in mind, those are not soldiers or police officers there. Those are militiamen. Authorities say the shooting victim is now in critical condition. New Mexico's governor says she is horrified and disgusted by the violence, tweeting, "There is absolutely no space in New Mexico for any violent would-be militia seeking to terrorize New Mexicans."
No would-be militias terrorizing our citizens. Only left-wing mobs get to do that. There is plenty of violent terrorizing observed on the video, but sure, we'll only condemn the hypothetical terrorizing that we speculate happened but can't actually prove. And then the video came out, and almost nothing we just heard is true. I'll show you as much of the video here as I think Queen Susan WikiWiki will allow. It's linked in the description if you want it unedited. But what we can see is a man in a blue t-shirt in some sort of violent scuffle with the mob. At some point in that violent scuffle, the man draws his handgun, he's backing away, and at that point, a masked person takes a swing at him with a skateboard. Blue shirt guy continues his retreat with the mob pursuing him. The mob is yelling, "Follow him." Follow him! One person is also yelling, "He's gonna kill you." He's gonna fucking kill you! Though that's unclear if he means the mob is gonna kill blue shirt guy or blue shirt guy is gonna kill them. Either way, a few people attack blue shirt guy and they get him on the ground. And it's in that scuffle that blue shirt guy fires, critically injuring one person. Blue shirt guy and the militia members we saw earlier were then placed under arrest. We were told militia members attacked protesters with gunshots. Instead, video shows a mob of violent rioters chasing a man down the street, beating him in the process, and the man shoots only as a last resort in self-defense. Let's review the facts. Before we even analyze the progression of the shooting event, this militia claim is totally unsubstantiated. The CNN piece says, look, those guys in tactical gear aren't cops or military, they're just militia. What crazy people. Yeah, well, it's pretty weird then that one of their members just showed up in a dad outfit. Did he not get the uniform memo? The more likely explanation is that blue shirt guy isn't a member of this militia group at all. In fact, the same local reporter CNN cites for their footage says there is no evidence connecting blue shirt guy to the militia group. So a big whoops on that one. And in an update after I recorded this video on Tuesday, the militia group has posted on Facebook claiming indeed that guy is not a part of their group. This was characterized as a militia attacking, but it wasn't a militia and it wasn't an attack. The footage we just saw shows a man retreating and being attacked, not attacking himself. He shoots only as a last resort after a series of attacks that could cause serious bodily harm are committed against him. In other words, this was squarely defensive. To present full context, you may be wondering why the masked guy hit him with a skateboard in the first place. It appears it was a response to this incident. One of the protesters is obstructing the man from moving about, and he tosses her out of the way. Now, who's at fault in that one? Debatable. As far as I'm concerned, physically obstructing and pushing against someone else's movement is violent aggression. Was blue shirt guy proportional in his use of force in response? You be the judge. But regardless, that incident is over as soon as blue shirt guy is retreating and surrendering himself as a non-threat. And legally, he doesn't even have a duty to retreat. New Mexico state law on the issue reads, paraphrased, lethal force in self-defense is justified when it's in the necessary defense of a person's life, or in necessarily defending against any unlawful action directed against that person. A mob attack and a beating with a blunt instrument should check that box. It's also justified when there's reasonable grounds to believe a design exists to commit a felony or to do some great bodily injury against that person. Check that box. It wasn't just imminent bodily injury, it was already happening bodily injury. And it's also justified if attempting to apprehend someone committing felonies in that person's presence, or in lawfully suppressing a riot, or in necessarily and lawfully keeping and preserving the peace. You can even make a case to check that box. We only need one, and we're arguably 3 for 3 on possible New Mexico legal justifications for lethal force in this case. In all likelihood, this guy will face no charges, at least for the shooting. And we know what that'll mean. More riots and rioters to protect us peaceful protest heroes, and more law-abiding citizens and cops to smear as villains. More conflict, more destruction, more chaos, more lawlessness. But don't worry, it's all pursuant to that final utopia that we're gonna build. Eventually, we just gotta smash everything first, but trust us, it's a self-stirring pot as long as you can start the swirling with exactly this sort of dishonest, misleading, misrepresented coverage. Spin the right narrative and watch the consequences happen before the truth and the facts ever have the time to be analyzed. So we can't let them tell us the facts, they have to show us the facts, because the story we were told and the story we can see in this case aren't just inconsistent, they're total opposites. Those portrayed as lawful were lawless. Those portrayed as criminals were citizens fully within their rights. Now maybe that's just an accident in a rapidly unfolding breaking news story, but it's awfully accidental that these accidents always get accidentally reported in a way that supports one particular political narrative. That is not an understandable accident. Like falling asleep at the drive-thru because you drove there wasted before attacking the police and stealing their taser and trying to shoot the cops with the taser. You know, the sort of understandable stuff that can happen to the best of us. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on Twitter. That is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to coming out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Goodbye.